What are today's buyers looking for? Stay tuned and I'll tell you the top 5 things that my buyers are asking me for.
You better get fired up.
Guys, happy Monday. We're here every single Monday talking about the hottest things in the real estate market at 11 o'clock. I'm excited that you're here. Today, we're going to get into the top 5 things that buyers that I work with here in Port St Lucie are asking for when we're conducting our home search and actually getting out and physically looking at homes. The number one thing, and it's number one for a reason, is a new roof, right? A metal roof is phenomenal. People love them, but honestly, they'd prefer new over metal. I think if I had the choice between a listing as a salesman with a 20-year-old metal roof or a brand spanking new shingle roof, I'll take the shingle roof all day long. Now, of course, if it's a brand new metal, brand new shingle, I'd rather have the metal, but new matters more than the material. It just does, okay? So if you are selling your home and you've got a probably like 0 to 15-year-old roof, trust me, it's going to make sense just to keep that roof there. Don't invest the money. But if you've got a roof where you cannot get a 5-year roof certification, meaning an inspector comes out, takes a look at it and says, there's at least 5 years of life left on this. That's the piece of paper that you need to give to your insurance agent to get insurance. It's very challenging to get insurance without that. So you might even want to ask before you put it on the market. I always advise getting a pre-listing inspection. It costs you $300-400. You're going to have an inspector come through and do the thing they're going to do anyway. Yeah, you got to pay for it. That's the downfall. But it's only $300-400. We're talking about something that's probably $300,000-400,000 on the low end, all the way up to 7 figures, right? Why wouldn't you invest that money? It helps you in so many ways. Number one, letting you know what's wrong with the property. And number two, giving you the opportunity to fix it before it becomes a problem. And now either costs you even more negotiations or even worse, a lost buyer, right? Your first offer is almost always your best offer. You don't want to lose it. So get that new roof on there. Is it worth it to get the new roof on if you've got, say, an 11, 12, 13-year-old roof? In my opinion, no, right? That roof typically on the low end is going to cost you $13,000 for a really easy roof. That's about the lowest numbers I've seen lately, $12,000, $13,000. And that's a smaller, like probably 900 to 1,200 square foot home where the roof line is like this. It's just one end, one end. That's it. There's a roofer right now saying it's called, I don't know what it's called, but it's just 2 panels of roofing. That's it. If you get, like my roof's got so many different roof lines and everything else, you might have a bigger home than me. And if your home is just 2 sides, your roof is going to be cheaper than my home's going to be, right? So, but are you going to get that money back? Are you going to get $12,000, $13,000 back having a brand new roof over a 12-year-old roof? Well, remember that $12,000, $13,000, that's on about 1,000 square foot home. No, I don't think your property is going to go up that much for that. If it's a 20-year-old roof versus a new, are you? Absolutely. Because you've got a buyer pool this big, right? When you say, hey, you can't get insurance on this property, now you're only looking at cash buyers. Cash buyers make up, I forget what it was last time I looked, but it was like 15-20%-ish of buyers right now. In the lower end properties, that number is even lower. More people are getting mortgages as the prices come down. So again, if you can't get that 5-year roof cert, which you can get from any home inspector, I would absolutely get a new roof. Number 2 is going to be either LVT flooring, right? Luxury vinyl tile, or plank tile flooring. Those are the 2 that sell the best. Plank tile is a little bit more expensive. It sells a little bit better, okay? The LVT, though, for practical sense, is waterproof. It's scratch proof if you've got kids or pets with nails going around. So that's really nice too. I personally love the plank tile flooring, but I've been told that a 2-3-year-old tile, they'll chip really easily, right? They just do on the edges. So you start to see wear and tear after 2-3 years. That LVT, you're not. But if you're doing this just to sell, put in one of those 2. You can put the plank tile in. It's not going to chip in the next month or 2 before you sell it. And you're going to sell for a lot more. Now, would I advise that? It really depends on the numbers you get. It depends on if you're installing it yourself, you're having somebody else install it. If they're installing it, how much is it going to be? And then we've got to look at other comps that have updated flooring versus those that don't. What's the difference? If the difference is the same or greater than what it's going to cost you to get it done, absolutely get it done. That analysis should be happening probably, 4, 6, 8 months out before you sell. That's where you're going to want to get a realtor involved and say, hey, what will my home be worth currently? And what will my home be worth currently if I were to swap out the flooring with X flooring, right? Whether it's the LVT or the plank tile, whatever it is. Now you can see, okay, it's going to go up this much. Can I get it done for that amount or less? If I can, let's do it. If I can't, forget it, right? All right, number three. Number three is something that I don't know if I'd say it's new, but it's becoming more and more trendy, more and more of a must as time goes on. And that's either quartz or granite in the kitchens and bathrooms. Now, I'm going to describe this horribly, but you'll probably know what I mean if you live in Port St Lucie. There is what I'm going to call old school granite, cheaper granite that you see in a lot of the 15, 20, 25-year-old homes. I don't know what makes it look older because it's a rock. I mean, it's millions of years old, but there's something about the granite that we used to put in 15, 20 years ago. It just looks older. The granite now looks much newer. Again, I can't describe it. I just know when I walk in, there's a difference between newer granite and older granite, okay? So that newer granite really pops. It depends on the color. It depends on how well it matches your cabinets and your paint color and your flooring and everything else. But if you've got really good, a really good vibe in there with the colors, granite can do well. Quartz almost always does well, right? There are a few quartz colors that do a little bit worse than others. In my experience, I see that dark colors tend to do worse, right? In fact, a lot of the 15, 20-year-old homes that have granite will have a black granite. Those are the most challenging. I'd still rather have that than a Formica, but those are the most challenging. If you can get matching quartz or granite in your bathrooms, even better, right? What's better, quartz or granite? I mean, now I'm speaking to buyers right now. Quartz can burn, okay? It can also stain. So if you have red wine or spaghetti sauce, or you leave a hot pan on there, you could have problems. If you have kids helping you cook, you could have problems. But a lot of people prefer quartz more. They just do. It looks better. It's a man-made product, so you can make it any color, any design that you want. You can put the different veining in there, right? The veining that it literally looks like a blood vein going through there. And the more of that you have, it tends to sell for more. With quartz, you've got to find something that naturally has it in there. And the more unique and the more veining and the more ooh and ah that comes out of your mouth when you see it, the more expensive it's going to get. With quartz, you don't see that difference in price quite so much, although quartz tends to be more than most granite. It's not a lot more, just a little more. If it were me and I was redoing my house with the intent to sell for the most possible, I would put quartz in the bathrooms and in the kitchen, okay? Number 4. Now, all of the things on in this list, including number 5, which I haven't gotten to yet, are things that you can impact. You can decide to do or not to do, right? You can't fix this one. It just is what it is. And I hate bringing something like that up because the intent of this video is for you to hear it and say, ooh, these are some things I might want to consider before selling to position myself better. This one, it's me just telling you, you're either in good shape or you're out of luck. There's nothing you can really do about it. And that is, if you're in an HOA and you're at $400 to $450 or lower, right? That entry level price point, buyers just aren't having it. All right. Doesn't mean there's nothing under $450 selling in HOAs. There are, but anybody in that price point is saying to me, Joe, they're not saying all of this. What they're saying is, Joe, I want to look outside of an HOA. What I know they're thinking is, Joe, prices have gone up. Mortgage rates have gone up. I can't control insurance. I can't control taxes. The one thing I can control in this whole debacle is whether or not I'm paying an HOA fee. So we're already kind of tight on money, and we got to buy this house for $350, $450. Let's stay out of HOAs to get at least one of these costs as low as possible. 0. Okay. So that's why, in my opinion, a lot of these folks in the entry level price points are saying, let's stay out of HOAs. Now, when I'm looking at $500,000, $600,000, $700,000, $800,000 buyers, those guys want usually to be in HOAs. Some of them don't. Some of them want to get land, they want to build, and they don't want HOAs telling them what to do. But most people don't want to be in a $600,000, $700,000, $800,000 home that's not in an HOA. When you've got that type of investment in a property, you want some governing force telling your neighbors that they have to have minimal standards so that you can ensure that your home values are going to stay at a certain level, right? I'm not saying you got to agree with it. I'm not saying I fully agree with it. What I'm saying is that's the perspective of the majority of people in those two different price points. All right. Now, number 5 is probably going to be the least exciting, but if you're aware of this, it helps you incredibly when it comes to creating your pricing strategy, your marketing strategy, and deciding how it is you want to present your listing to the world. And that is understanding that the majority of people, the majority of buyers, and the lower the price point, the more this is true. It's especially true in that 450 and under. The lower your price point, the more likely it is that that buyer is going to ask you to pay their closing costs. Okay. Now, closing costs, I tend to tell people, and it's different. And it differs with price. But I typically tell you, if you're in that $300,000 to $400,000 range, all of your closing costs are going to be right around 3.5% to 4%. Okay. If you're buying a $600,000, $700,000 home, they're going to be closer to 3%. Why do they go down? Because some of those fees, I don't know how many fees you got, 10, 15 fees. Some of those fees are flat fees. So the higher the price, the lower the percentage. Some of them are percentages, so they're going to be roughly the same regardless of what price you're at, right? So the higher you go in price as a percentage, the lower your closing costs are going to be. But if you're in that $300,000 to $400,000 range, I always say 3.5% to 4%. If you're at 600 plus, I'll say it's going to be closer to 3%. And different loans allow you to ask for different amounts. So maybe they can ask for 3%, maybe they can ask for 6%. They're going to come in and they're going to ask for a certain amount, almost always. The most common number I see, I'll give you two numbers, is either $10,000 or it's 3%. Those are the two most common numbers that I see. But I've seen people ask for 6%. So now if you've got a $400,000 home, they're asking you to pay $24,000 in closing costs. It doesn't mean you got to do it. I mean, we got to negotiate here, right? We got to see, what can you do? Okay, if we do give you that, can we up the price? Are we concerned about appraisal? What do we have to protect us from appraisal? There's a million other questions that you would want to ask before you just say, oh, that's crazy. No way. Let's talk about it a little bit. Let's see what we can work out here, right? Think outside of the box a little bit. But that's something that you're probably going to be asked. So what do I see really aggressive sellers doing? They're saying, hey, my property's worth $390. I tell you what, I'm going to put it at $395, maybe even $4. Maybe if I'm really aggressive, I'll even keep it at $390. But I'm going to offer $5,000, $10,000, maybe 3% in seller paid buyer's concession. So now the buyer has certain closing costs. I'm, as a seller, willing to pay a portion or all of those closing costs. I can't help you with a down payment, right? Conventional is 3 to 5% on the low end. FHA is 3.5%. I can't do anything as a seller for you. You're on your own. Mom and dad can. That's a whole nother video. But I can as a seller. But with your closing costs, I can help you with sometimes all of it, depending upon the loan type. So that is the 5th thing that I'm seeing buyers ask for in this market. All right, I'm going to go through these one more time. Newer roofs, newer flooring, LVT or plank tile, quartz or granite in the kitchen and bathrooms, all matching. No HOA if you're in that entry-level price point. And number 5 is closing costs. Guys, I hope you enjoyed this. Hopefully it was helpful. If you've got additional questions you'd like to ask me privately, send me a DM. If you'd like to put ideas in for next week's video, right? We do a video every single week. Throw it in the comments, and I'm happy to oblige. I hope you guys enjoyed this. Thanks for joining me, and have an absolutely phenomenal rest of your week. Take care.